So I don't know if you guys are very familiar with like the island at the Gold Coast there.
No, I've never been out in the Gold Coast.
Um, it's like this kind of like just this bar, and there's like a hotel on the back of it. Anyway, I was in the gaming lounge, and I was just out in the smokers, you know, doing as doing as one would do on a night out. And look, so this fella comes out to me, probably looks all of 50, had a spare tire on him, um, and he just exchange a few words like g'day, how you going, whatnot, and um, he goes to roll himself a cigarette, and instead of pulling out a pouch, so he pulls out his filters and his papers, he then proceeds to pull out a Tupperware container full of tobacco, like
We gotta keep it
like
dry, bro.
like a decent sized one as well, not just a normal sized little
Like one you
small
put
one.
your sandwich in to go to school with.
More so one you'd put leftovers in.
Wow. Was it
Um,
hanging from a chain from his belt?
no, no. He did have a satchel though. It wasn't a satchel, to be
Nice.
fair.
Classy. I like it.
Uh, his name was Dave. So if Dave's listening anywhere, g'day, Dave. Um, so he rolls himself a cigarette from this big box, and I was like, oh, what's with the tobacco? Like, I was genuinely curious, and he says he buys 100 grams at a time for $60 from this random guy that he told me as if I knew who he was. And so I was like, oh, yeah, yeah, you know.
Yeah, right.
And so the night sort of just drifts on a little bit, just sitting there drinking and whatnot. And then he tells me that out of the entire Gold Coast, the best place to be was in a pokies smoking area, because apparently he was telling me he's got this method of like pulling women, like this. Like I couldn't explain it as well as he could, but he pretty much was showing me all these photos of his through his phone of just all these chicks that he's like pulled apparently. Um,
Just taking like photos of chicks without their consent, just up skirts and
yeah,
photos from behind, from
yeah,
over the
and
shoulder, down the tops.
They're all crying. Mascara's
but
running everywhere.
the one thing I must admit is his method worked.
Really?
His
Did you?
Method worked.
Did he put it into
So
action?
yeah, yeah. So there was these two. So where we were sitting was where the lineup for they had a rooftop bar on there as well. So the line for the rooftop bar was right in front of where the smokers was.
Yep.
Yeah.
And look, there's these two middle-aged women. I'd say best part of 40. Um, they'd obviously been on a pub crawl. They were dressed up. They had like 80s wigs on, that weird kind of frizzy hair, like Selma Hayek from Grown Ups kind of hair.
Well, it's
Uh,
it's work at Christmas party season as well. Silly season.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And so he says hey, and they didn't hear him, so he says it like three more times, like slowly increasing the intensity of how he says it, and
Progresses to an
then
oi.
and then they turn around, and he just like, just general chit chat, like, how you going? And then he's like, oh, you ladies should come join us up in here for a drink. And they like, you could see on their face, they were very uncomfortable to talk to him. Like,
How old's this fella again?
oh, at least 50,
Okay.
bald head.
Slap it. Good on him.
And yeah, and so he's like, oh, you guys should just come up for a drink, come chat with me and my mate. Me being the mate, I was just like, just standing there thinking, all right. And then so they're like, yeah, all right. They're just like, fuck it, we'll come up. And then as soon as they walk off, he points to me. He's like, I think we're both on here. And I was like, what? I was like, I was honestly a bit speechless. I didn't know what to say.
I just
Uh,
picture him just like the ladies come in. He's like, "Any of you ladies care for a cigarette?" And pulls out a fucking Tupperware container of tobacco. Just starts fucking rolling. Oh
Take
man,
a handful. Just take some for later.
Keep some for later. Just put it in your bra. That's
and
cool.
and yeah, so then they came up and they had a chat, and then I was like, I kind of started to get really a little bit uncomfortable, because of the way he was like, what he was talking about. He was like talking about how he's always getting like hotel rooms here on the Gold Coast, and
Oh, what
he's like
for?
Ah,
escorts apparently.
oh,
Were
that's
these
cool
also
as.
single bed bedrooms?
Yeah, well, he was telling me about this
Yeah,
app
don't
you
fall
can
for that
get.
trick, bro.
He's like, you can get this app and you can just swipe up, tell them to be here at this time, pay them cash. They list everything they do, and I was thinking like, how much do you spend on this? Like, I felt very kind of very uncomfortable, to
I'd
be
be very
honest.
interested to see what he does for a
Mm,
living. I'm,
I
I'm a bit
don't think a whole
intrigued.
lot. I think he's on ScoMo's surf team, to be honest.
Oh,
um,
good man. Gotta love Dave.
Yeah, that was outlandish, and then that fight broke out at the front.